This is the second part of lesson 1.1, Introduction to Lines and Angles. And so where you should be is you are trying the number 8 by yourself, and then we're going to see how you did. Okay, so number 8, it says, given that L is parallel to M, so I know that these two lines are parallel. That's my given, so I can just write my first step right now. And I apologize already. I know I'm going to run out of space here because it's hard to write small enough to make it all fit. So I'll do the best I can to make this neat. But number 1, you're going to say L is parallel to M, and that is given. Okay. And then it says prove that 1 is supplementary to 6. So we're going to prove that 1 plus 6 is 180 degrees. Now if you look, those are not alternate interior angles. They're not alternate exterior angles. One's interior, one's exterior. So we don't have a theorem about that anyway. So we're trying to prove, in other words, that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 6 is equal to 180. And just understanding that that's what we're trying to say, that gives us a hint for what we can do. I need to look at some things that I already know to add to be 180 and then see if I can do some substitution to make that happen. So let's go ahead and see about some things like, let's look at angle 1. What do I know about angle 1 that I could add to it to get 180? And so you might have said angle 1 plus angle 2. You might have said angle 1 plus angle 3, and those would have both been great ways to start. Now I'm cautious on this because there's so many different ways you could do this proof, so I don't want to do it one way and you think that you did it wrong because you did it another way. So I'm going to try to kind of cover all the bases so you can see what you could have done, but they all work similarly. So I'm just going to say that I'm going to do that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals 180, and that's because it's a linear pair. Now you may have said angle 1 plus angle 3 is 180, all right? Now you might think, well, I didn't do that. I did 1 and 4 are vertical angles. You could have done that, and maybe I'll come back and do that one because that's a slightly different path, but that also could work. And that's the difficult thing about both doing proofs and grading proofs, is that there's different ways to do it. And so we all have to be aware that there's not just one right way, so please don't think that there is. But if you did it either saying angle 1 and angle 2 is 180 or 1 and 3 is 180, that I'm going to show you that, and then I'll come back and do the vertical angles option. If we did that, then I know that angle 1 and angle 2 are 180, so I'm just going to kind of put that right there. Now look at angle 2 and angle 6. What relationship do they have? Go back again to the first page of the notes. I know that angle 2 is congruent to angle 6. Why? Because they're corresponding angles. Okay, so corresponding angles. So I know 2 is congruent to 6, and so look at what I can do. If 2 is the same thing as 6, I can just say the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 6 equals 180 because I just substituted something and I just proved what I need to prove. And so you just have to kind of think through this puzzle. Now let me go back and show you the option you could have done with vertical angles. And if you did something else, you might want to ask me about it, because I don't want to just cut it off and say that's all you could do, because there's other things that could possibly have been done, like you could have said 1 and 7 or exterior angles. There's just so many ways that you could look at this, but I'm trying to go with the most obvious ones. You could have said that angle 1 is congruent to angle 4 because they're vertical angles. Now if you didn't do this one, I want you to watch it anyway, because the more you see different ways to do something, the more your mind expands to take in different ways to do something. And then next time you have something like this, you have more things that you can think of. So angle 1 and angle 4 are congruent because they're vertical angles. So, okay, question now, what do you know about 4 and 6? So we're trying to connect the beginning with the end, so I'm trying to get to angle 6 somehow. So what do you know about 4 and 6? So again, go back and look on the first page. I know that the measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 6 equals 180. Why? Because they are same side interior. And we said on the first page that there's a theorem that says that they add to be 180. Okay? So, since angle 4 and angle 6 add to be 180, and then look, angle 1 is the same as angle 4, So I can say that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 6 equals 180 because I just substituted. Instead of angle 4, I put angle 1. So again, substitution. So the way that you do this proof, really no matter which path you're taking, even if you did alternate exterior angles, you're still going to be doing the same type of situation here, okay? So just know that there's different options. So when you come down to 9, 10, 11, 12, and there's not really a proof set up like this, and so you don't really have to do a formal 2-column proof. This is a 2-column proof that we've done so far. When it says prove like this, and there's not like a 2-column thing set up, you can just kind of show it, okay? And really, when you show your work in any kind of algebra problem, so like on the previous page when we were setting up equations, when you show your work, when you show your steps, you're doing a proof, okay? So on number 9, it says prove that 7 is congruent to 10. So let's look at where 7 and 10 are. Now, the thing that people do that's wrong here is they look at that and they're like, oh, those are alternate exterior angles. They're actually not. They're not related at all, okay? You can only look at 3 lines at a time. So if these are my 2 lines that are parallel, then this is my transversal. I can't look at angle 10. This part doesn't even exist, okay? And so you can't kind of jump over from one set to the other set and compare them. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to do kind of a progression. And so I can say something like 7 is congruent to 6 because vertical angles. So I can say angle 7 is congruent to angle 6, and I'll put vertical angles. And then 6 is congruent to 2 because corresponding angles. And then if I look at 2, and now look at my lines that I have this line and this line being parallel and that being my transversal. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 10 because they're corresponding angles. And so then because of that, if 7 is congruent to 6 and 6 is congruent to 2 and 2 is congruent to 10, then angle 7 is congruent to angle 10. And so that's the transitive property where it goes from A to B to C to D, and then you can connect the A and the D. That's what this is doing. And so all of these types of problems, you're going to have to go through that process. Now, you may not have chosen those exact same angles. You might have said 7 is congruent to 15 because they're corresponding angles. And then you might have said 15 is congruent to 14 because they're vertical angles, and 14 is congruent to 11 because they're alternate interior angles, and 11 is congruent to 10 because they're vertical angles. You can do that too. There's so many paths you can take on this one. So I'm just showing you one possibility. You're welcome to do another one. If you can show that relationship and that progression, then chances are really good that you're doing it right. Okay, prove that angle 5 is congruent to angle 9. So if you feel like you have a better grasp on this than you did a few minutes ago, then maybe pause the video and see if you can think of a path to get from 5 to 9. How can you show that they're congruent? And then come back and see if you feel like you already did it, then go ahead and just see if you're right. Okay, so 5 to 9, that's where I'm going to get. So I'm going to go 5 is congruent to 4 because all alternate interior angles. And 4 is congruent to 9 because of alternate interior angles. So those are alternate interior angles, both of them. And then so 5 is congruent to angle 9. That's just substitution. And so 11, prove that 7 and 9 are supplementary. Okay, supplementary means they add to be 180. So I have to prove that 7 plus 9 equals 180. Okay, so I'm going to say, I've got to get from here to here. So I'm going to say 7 plus 8 equals 180. Angle 7 plus angle 8 equals 180. And angle 8 plus angle 15 is 180. And angle 15 is the same thing as 11. Angle 15 is congruent to angle 11. So since angle 15 and angle 11 are the same, I could actually put angle 11 right there. And so if I said 8 plus 15, then that means that 7 and 15 are the same because it's substitution. So if I said angle 7 plus angle 8 is equal to angle 8 plus angle 11, because again 15 and 11 are the same, I subtract angle 8. Oh, and I'm just realizing I'm not getting to 9. Okay, so angle 7 and 11, Yeah, we can do this. So angle 7 is congruent to angle 11. Whoops. So if angle 7 and angle 11 are the same, let me just go and mark that. They're the same. And so angle 9 plus angle 11 equals 180 because they're a linear pair. Number 12, I'm going to skip that. You can look on the notes to see what that one is, but that's a similar type of an idea, going from 5 plus 10 as 180. So you can watch that or look at that on paper. Number 13, find all angle measures and label the diagram. So I start out with knowing that this is 90 degrees because of the symbol and this is 50. And so if I've got 140, then what's left right there is 40 degrees. That's what's left to be able to go there. Now I can't just say that, this is like, 90 and 90 or anything like that, but I can say that these two are vertical angles. So look for that. So this is 50, so then this would have to be 130. And so I've got all the angles. So you just label the diagram, and that's all you have to do there. Okay, so on your homework, you're going to be asked to go through vocabulary and use your vocabulary knowledge to name things. You're going to have to identify different angles. You're going to have to go through all of the congruence, things like the corresponding angles, vertical angles, same side interiors. You're going to be asked to do some proofs. And none of them are going to be very many steps, okay? But basically you're going to be using vertical angles, corresponding angles, alternate interiors, supplementary, substitution. Substitution is where you put in one for the other. Those are kind of the things that you're going to be using. Of course, you always start with given. But most of your proofs that you're going to be asked to do on your homework, I would say like 4 steps for the most part. I don't have them in front of me, so I don't know for sure, but it's not going to be very many. And then you're going to have to do some things like we did there at the very end, where you have to find like missing angles and show from one step to the next how to do that, like we did on the last problems there. In this class, you have access to the answer key. And so the answer key is available. And when you are doing your homework, you are welcome to look at the answer key. And in fact, I encourage you to do it, because if you're doing your whole homework assignment and you're doing it wrong and you don't know that you're doing it wrong, then you're just doing a lot of wrong practice. So what I want you to be doing and get in the habit of is do your assignment the best you can and do everything that you know, but then go and check it. And if it's wrong, I don't want you to just change your answers. I don't want you to, have 5 and then find out the answer is 10 and just erase it and put 10. I want you to go back and look, because I'll always show my work. Go back and look at why is it 10, and go through and fix the process so that you can do the practice that leads you to the right answer and not just have the right answer. Because math isn't just about the right answer, it's about how you got there. And I think that that's something that people misunderstand a lot. They think it's all about getting the right answer, but that's not what math is. Math is the process, it's the practice, it's the procedure. And so that's how we get there. And so please don't misunderstand having the right answer for being able to do math. So I want you to go through and do that. So you can use your answer key. You can change your answers. That's not cheating. I think most of you understand that from our practice last year. But you should do that. Now, the way that we're going to grade the homework, I'll explain to you in a separate video, depending on if we're in school or online. But if you do not grade your homework, then there will be negative consequences as far as your homework score goes. Okay, so please make sure that you take advantage of that. If you have any questions, please ask.